Hi everyone. I've been promising this video for quite some time, so let's get to it. If you're watching this video as part of my newsletter, I've actually attached the data so you can see it, you can reference it below. If you're watching this video on YouTube because the video needs somewhere to live and you would like a copy of those numbers, there's a spot you can enter your information and I can send that to you. So a couple things before we get going here. When I'm talking about these numbers, I'm talking specifically about the average sale price of a single family detached home in Winnipeg. Okay, so I'm not talking about condos or rural properties, although those markets have held up really well also. Going back to May, that is when our market peaked. Okay, so the average sale price in Winnipeg was $477,900. So that is quite steep here in Winnipeg. If you are coming from Toronto or Vancouver, you might be licking your chops thinking that's a pretty good deal, but that was our peak here. So where are we sitting now? The average sale price, I gotta check my notes here, for December 2022 was $392,213. So is the market crashing? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the numbers month over month and you can decide. But specifically, I want to draw your attention to October 2022. So that is when our average sale price dropped below 2021. Dun, dun, dun. No, I should say that it dipped rather than it dropped. Okay, so the average sale price went down to, well, it went down $3,800. Okay, so it's not, at that time there were still these significant bidding wars happening on some of the properties, but overall it did drop a little bit. But let's compare that to 2020. You're still up almost $30,000. And then if we compare that to pre-pandemic in 2019, we are still up $65,000. So, I mean, that's just 2019. That's not that long ago. So real estate is not a bad investment. That's how people get rich. I'm trying my best. So my broker has kind of given this analogy that I like. So he talks about how it's kind of like a plane went off. We reached our peak altitude in May and we've kind of come back down and now we're just sort of taxiing into our little lane here. They're just like waving us in. So I'm not anticipating any sort of drastic drop this year. Interest rates are supposed to kind of hold steady and eventually come down, although that could be into 2024. So talk to your lender. They will be able to advise you better on which mortgage product is right for you. They'll know better than I will. So I just want to wrap up with something, I'm calling it bad news, good news. So if you are someone who purchased back in May, chances are you also probably had a house that you were selling. So you would have had a few extra bucks in your pocket from the sale of your home, even though you paid a little bit more and you locked in at a lower interest rate. So if you're looking at those numbers and you're thinking, oh shoot, no, congratulations. Okay, I've never had anybody say, oh, I really regret buying that home that I love, where I'm gonna raise my family and make memories. Just like, what a bad call. Like that's not a conversation that people are having. Okay, eventually, your term will come due and hopefully by then the rates have come down more. And because the bank was basically giving away free money for a while there, your mortgage is going to be paid down a lot quicker. So the bad news is that you paid more. The good news is you also potentially pocketed more from your sale, and you got a lower interest rate. Okay, and you're a freaking warrior for going through those bidding wars, because that was something else. So if you're looking at purchasing today, No, but seriously, if you're looking at purchasing today, the bad news is you are going to pay a higher interest rate, and you may actually qualify for less money because of those stress tests and things like that. But the good news is that those prices have come down pretty significantly since May, and you actually have some negotiating power for the first time in about 3 years. So you can also have conditions on your offer that are going to benefit you, like a financing or a home inspection clause, and you're likely going to avoid a bidding war. So when you find the house that you love and where you want to live, your odds of actually making that happen are so much higher than last year. And I also want to say, if you do also have a house to sell, don't fret, okay? Because if you look at those numbers that I just spoke about, your value year over year is still notably higher than where it was. So you're doing okay. And I think that's about it for my little market update. So hopefully you found this interesting. Maybe it made you feel a little bit lighter because we've been hearing all of the doom and gloom on the news. So remember, all markets are local. So what's happening in the larger cities across the country isn't necessarily reflective of what's happening here in Winnipeg. We're a little bit more insulated here, so our peaks aren't quite as high and our valleys aren't quite as low. So if you have any questions about your specific property, I'd be happy to discuss your options. You can find my information below. And if you're not quite sick of me yet, I do have another video coming out just talking a little bit about the do's and don'ts of renovating, which is kind of fun. So be sure to check that out.